you should be continually working on your offer over everything else when it comes to sales, because the offer, if you get the offer right, it's going to sell itself.
Hey friends, it's Steve. Want to know how a $5 book lands a $5,000 client? I've recorded a 15-minute video showing you our magnetic author method. It's up now at magneticauthor.co/video.
Welcome to the Unstoppable CEO podcast. I'm your host, Steve Gordon, and this is a big episode, everybody. This is episode 300. We've been at this for almost 5 years. I can't believe it. When I started this podcast, I committed to doing the podcast for a decade. I felt that if I committed for a decade, that I would actually learn a lot, and it would keep me persistent through the process as we've gone through, and so we're almost halfway. So we're recording this in November of 2022, and we hit our 5-year, I think, anniversary in January 2023, right around the corner. And this is episode 300. So way back at episode 100, I did a little kind of lessons learned on the podcast through 100 episodes. And I went back and reviewed that. And I think that episode actually still stands up pretty well. I don't know that I would change a lot from that. So today, what I thought I would do is just share some of the lessons that I've learned in growing the business, both through the last 5 years and 300 episodes of the podcast, and through 12 years. So we're finishing up our 12th year in business, and really hitting a point of tremendous growth. And there are really 5 things that I think have contributed to that, 5 kind of principles that I've discovered over the years that really, I think, are the things that we're standing on to create the growth that we're creating right now. And so I thought I'd go through those today. This is probably going to be a little bit of a shorter episode, but I think it's going to be pretty impactful. It may be one that you want to come back to and listen to again and again. So let's dive into it. So the 5 lessons I want to share with you are in all of the key areas of the business. So we're going to talk about growth. We're going to talk about sales. We're going to talk about marketing, economics, and team. And I want to start with growth because I think, to me, this is the most foundational of these principles. And it's one that I think I understood, or at least I knew early in the business, but I didn't implement consistently early on. And the principle is this, that who the client is has the greatest impact on your success. And I heard that said, maybe by Dan Kennedy or somebody like that the who is the most important thing in your business, who you're selling to, who your client is. But, early in a business, I think for most businesses, you tend to take the opportunities that present themselves. And that was one of the things, if I had to go back and do it again, I would be much more clear and I would be more disciplined about only accepting clients that were a great fit, that were great human beings, that were people that we could, build the future growth of the business on. Because at the end of the day, that's what you've got, is just those people who are willing to invest in you. That's effectively what they're doing. And you want to pick good people. And you want to make sure that they're a good fit, that they're in a position to get good results from the work that you do. And so I think that's just really, really critical. It's something that we now are very disciplined about, and it makes an enormous difference. And every time somebody slips through that isn't quite as good of a fit, man, you feel it throughout the business. Everybody in the company just feels it. And that client doesn't have a good experience either. And so that's one of the reasons I think you need to be really clear about this, and also very disciplined about only letting those right fit clients in. And so that was a huge lesson for me over the years. So on growth, who the client is has the greatest impact on success. On sales, this one, again, one of those things I heard a long time ago, took me an awfully long time to get it right. But in sales, I think the offer is the most important thing. It's paramount. You should be continually working on your offer over everything else when it comes to sales, because the offer, if you get the offer right, it's going to sell itself. It's going to take all of the complexity out of having to attract the right people, because when you put it in front of them with your marketing, when you put that offer in front of them, it's aligned with what they are already predisposed to buy. They already know they need it. The right ideal client is already looking for it and hasn't found it in the marketplace yet. And so really working on and honing that offer and making it sexy and making it highly valuable where the client's getting the better end of the deal. That is so key. And again, it's one of those things where I think we've gotten a whole lot better at it recently, but it took a long time to really figure that out and get clear on it. So it's worth investing the lion's share of your time in early on, because once you figure that out, the rest actually is pretty easy. Now, if the offer is key in marketing or in sales, you need a marketing machine and some tools to get the message out, to get the offer in front of people and to attract those right fit clients. And the very best thing I've ever found to do that, and I've tried just about everything, and if you've listened to the podcast for a long time, you've heard me say it, the very best thing you can do to attract qualified leads into your business is to write a book. That's one of the reasons we've sort of built our entire business around that now, because I've seen the impact. I've seen the impact in our business. My book still, I mean, my first book is 8 years old. Very little at the moment to actively market it, that first book, because we're marketing the latest book. And it's still that first book, even though it's not very actively marketed, it is still bringing people in every single month. And so it is the most effective thing that you can do, bar none, to get your marketing going and to generate qualified leads. And so as we think about these first three, which are really all geared towards getting clients in the door and growing the business, obviously the first I think you want to get clear on is who your ideal client is, because that's going to have the biggest kind of foundational impact on success. And once you're clear on that and you know how you help them, then the very next thing you want to be doing is writing a book that explains your methodology. And I would even recommend you do that before you get the offer. It's independent of the offer. You want to get that book out there and start generating a flow of leads and traffic into the business, because it's those leads coming into the business that are highly qualified, that match your ideal client profile, that are going to help you refine your offer. Because I've never found a magic bullet to getting a great offer. It's iteration. You come up with the best thing that you can think of and you put it out there and you get feedback from the market. Well, if you don't have a flow of qualified leads, it's really difficult to get the feedback. And so I've seen people try and do this with very low lead flow, and they're working on the offer. And what they end up doing is, a lot of speculation and a lot of spinning without much feedback. And the feedback is really critical. And so you need to get a way to get that lead flow going. A book is the very best way to do that. So from a marketing perspective, that's the biggest lesson that we've learned over the last 12 years. Now let's look at economics. Economics are pretty important. At the end of the day, we want to make a profit. And there are a number of kind of formulas that I look at now as benchmarks for, are we in a place where sort of growth is inevitable? But the most important, I think, is to look at CAC, cost to acquire a customer. And if you can get your economics to the point where your cost to acquire a customer is less than the cash that you collect from that customer in the first 30 days, you've now got a flywheel, because you can basically spend all of the cash that comes in that first 30 days on acquiring another customer. And of course, that assumes that you've got a lifetime value there, where they're going to be working with you for more than the 30 days. You've got other things to offer them. You've got a longer engagement. But if you can create a situation where your cost to acquire the customer is less than that 30 days cash, you can now just roll over that investment that you make. So let's say you invest $1,000 or $10,000, pick a number. Let's say you invest $1,000, and for that $1,000, you can get 5 customers. 5 clients. And so you invest that on the first day of the month. And by the end of the month, you get that money back in cash collected. Well, now you don't have to dip in and invest another $1,000. You just reuse the $1,000 you just got back. And so it becomes this really great flywheel where you can actually, afford to continue to grow. And if you do it, if you're smart about it, you can actually double down. So the cash you got back, you sort of reinvest the dividend, reinvest the original capital, and you put another $1,000 on the table. And pretty soon you start stair-stepping that up, and you're just growing and growing and growing. And every 30 days, the money that you've invested in acquiring customers is coming back into your bank account. And so that to me is the fundamental equation to be looking at. And I see a lot of businesses get this wrong, and I got it wrong for a long time, where you look at, okay, well, if I invest in something, if I go to a trade show, for example, I might get, customers that I meet, might close over the next year, let's say. Well, that's a long repayment. Let's say you spend 10 grand to go to a trade show, and it takes a year to get the 10 grand back. That's a long time to have that money sitting out there. And so you want to look for ways to engineer the business so that you're able to get that cash back within about 30 days. And so if you can get that economics going, you've got a great flywheel. All right, the last of these 5 principles is around team. And it's great to do all of the things that we've talked about. Growth is great. Having lots of sales is great. Being able to do, marketing and attract a lot of leads is really amazing. If you've got the economics right, you can grow infinitely. But if you don't have a team and you don't have a team that is clicking, it's going to be very difficult for you to do. You can't do it all yourself. And so, with team, what I've discovered is that the ability to leverage your team is directly proportional to your clarity as the leader and not to anything else. And that's one of the things that I've really over the last couple of years really tried to focus on. And the better I've gotten at being clear in my own thinking and being able to go to the team and clearly say, this is where we're going. These are the projects that are going to get there. Here's how we're going to measure whether or not we're winning along the way. And for each of those projects that's going to get us to our objective, here's my vision. Here's my very clear vision of what that looks like when it's done. And when I'm able to hand that to the team, we've got good people and they run. When I'm fuzzy and I don't give them that clarity, things spin. And so as you're building out your team, the degree to which you can get clear in your own thinking is going to accelerate your growth. And it's also going to accelerate your freedom. We're busier than we have ever been. And at the same time, in this quarter, I'm taking more time off than I've taken in a quarter in a couple of years. And so it doesn't mean that when I'm working, things aren't hectic. They are. I think that's the nature of growing a business. But when I'm off, I'm off. And I'm not fielding calls. I'm not checking emails because I've been clear with the team. They're good people. They know what to do. And so that to me is kind of the linchpin of all of this. You can do all the other things right, but if you don't have that ability to get clear on what you want, it's going to be very, very difficult for you to engage other people to help you build the business that you're trying to build. So those are 5 lessons around growth, sales, marketing, economics, and team. And those are things, as I reflect over the last 12 years of growing our business, that have been really key. Those are the things in terms of principles that I keep forefront now as we're growing into the future. And we just finished creating our 25-year vision for the future, all the way out into the 2040s. And it's exciting. It's exciting. And being able to look that far out and have that kind of clarity and know that we've got solid principles to grow on just gives me a lot of confidence in the future. I wanted to share this with you so you have the same confidence as you grow your business. And I look forward to 5 more years of the podcast and another several hundred episodes at least. So thanks for tuning in. I hope this has been helpful. If you've got some great principles that you use, if you're watching this on YouTube, post it down in the comments. You can send me an email. I'd love to hear what key things you think about. You can send it to me at steve@unstoppableceo.net. And we really appreciate you being along for this journey for 300 episodes and 5 years of the podcast. Thank you so much, and we'll see you on the next episode.